Hello everyone, and welcome back to Life Single Review. I hope you're all doing well and taking care of yourselves today. Before we witnessed Dee's confrontation with Thuy after 3 years apart, before we saw Huyen's quiet strength and Maya's innocent joy, there was another story. A love story that turned into a nightmare. Today we're traveling back in time 5 years to answer the questions that have been haunting you. How did Dae and Thuy fall in love? What happened to turn devotion into desertion? When did the woman who once promised forever decide that money mattered more than marriage? And on that fateful night, when Thuy disappeared, what exactly drove her to abandon the man who gave her everything he had? This is the story nobody talks about. The painful past that shaped Dae into the cautious, wounded man who almost didn't believe he deserved Huyen's love. This is the betrayal that left scars so deep, they still ache when Thuy's name is mentioned. If you're ready to understand Dee's journey from heartbreak to healing, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Life Single Review and turn on notifications because this emotional roller coaster is just beginning. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever trusted someone completely, only to have them shatter that trust when you least expected it? Let's dive into Dee's darkest chapter. 6 years ago, Dae was a different man. Younger, more hopeful, still believing that hard work and honest love could conquer any obstacle. He worked as a truck assistant, loading and unloading goods from dawn until well past sunset. His hands calloused and aching, but his spirit still intact. That's when he first saw Thuy at the local market. A slender young woman with quick movements and tired eyes, serving coffee at a small cafe stall. She wasn't wealthy, wasn't privileged, just another person trying to survive in a world that didn't make it easy. Their meeting was straight out of a movie, the kind of scene that makes you believe in fate. Dae had stopped for coffee during his break when he noticed a drunk customer harassing Thuy, grabbing her wrist and refusing to let go. Without thinking twice, Dee stepped between them. "Let her go," he said firmly, his voice carrying that quiet authority of someone who doesn't need to shout to be heard. The drunk backed down, stumbling away with curses, and Thuy looked up at this stranger, who defended her with tears of relief in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. And in that moment, something shifted in the air between them. Their courtship was beautiful in its simplicity. Dae would stop by her coffee stall every day. Not because he needed the caffeine, but because he needed to see her smile. They'd steal moments between his shifts and hers, sitting on plastic stools at street food stalls, sharing bowls of pho that cost less than $1, talking about their dreams for the future. Thuy seemed different back then, softer, gentler, content with the small joys of holding hands while walking through the park, of sharing an ice cream cone on hot summer evenings. "I don't need much," she'd tell him with what seemed like sincerity. "Just someone who truly sees me, who truly cares." And Dae did care, with every fiber of his being. When he proposed with a simple silver ring he'd saved 6 months to buy, she said yes with tears streaming down her face. Their wedding was everything their budget allowed, and nothing like magazine spreads. Just a few tables of relatives and friends in a borrowed community hall. Thuy in a rented wedding dress that had been worn by dozens of brides before her. Dae in a borrowed suit that was slightly too big in the shoulders. The decorations were modest, the food was simple. But when they stood before their small gathering and spoke their vows, the emotion was absolutely real. For better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, Dee promised, his voice steady and sure. Thuy's voice trembled slightly as she repeated the same words, and he squeezed her hand reassuringly, believing with all his heart that they'd face whatever came together. The first month of marriage felt like a dream despite the cramped rented room, despite the second-hand furniture, despite having to count every penny. Day would leave before sunrise for work and return after dark, exhausted but happy, because Thuy would be waiting with dinner ready, with a smile and a kiss. They'd eat together, talk about their day, make plans for when they'd save enough to rent a bigger place, maybe even buy a small plot of land. We'll get there, Dee would promise. I'll work harder. I'll make it happen. And Thuy would nod, still seeming to believe, still seeming to trust that love could sustain them while they built something better. But reality has a way of testing even the strongest promises, and poverty has a way of wearing down even the most patient hearts. 1 year into their marriage, the harsh truth became impossible to ignore. Dee's back-breaking labor wasn't translating into financial progress. He worked longer hours, took extra shifts, skipped meals to save money, but the rent still consumed most of his paycheck. The vegetables they ate were the cheapest ones at the market, often slightly wilted. Their clothes were washed and rewashed until the fabric grew thin. There was no money for movies, for new shoes, for any of the small luxuries that make life feel like more than just survival. And that's when Thuy started to change. It wasn't dramatic at first, just small comments that stung like paper cuts. "You work so hard, but we're still this poor," she'd say while scrolling through her phone, looking at former classmates' social media posts. "Look at Lan. Her husband bought her a motorbike for her birthday. When will we ever afford something like that?" Dee would swallow his hurt and respond quietly, "I'm doing my best." But his best wasn't enough. Not when measured against the carefully curated highlight reels of other people's lives. The comparisons became more frequent and more cutting. "My friend Thuy's husband just bought them a car, an actual car. And here we are, still riding a bicycle." Or, "Everyone I know is moving into real houses, and we're still in this tiny rented room." Each comment was like a tiny rejection, a little message that said, "You're not enough. You're failing me. You're not the man I thought you'd become." Day absorbed it all in silence, trying to work even harder, as if exhausting himself could somehow transform into the prosperity Thuy craved. He picked up side jobs on his days off, came home even more tired, even more depleted. But it still wasn't enough to close the gap between their reality and Thuy's growing expectations. Then Thuy announced she wanted to work part-time at an upscale cafe downtown. "We need extra income," she explained, and on the surface it made sense. But Dee noticed other changes. She started paying more attention to her appearance, buying makeup she claimed was necessary for the job, wearing clothes that seemed too expensive for their budget. "I borrowed from friends," she'd say dismissively when he gently questioned the spending. "Don't worry about it. But worry was all he could do as he watched his wife transform into someone he barely recognized. The upscale cafe brought Thuy into contact with a different world. A world of wealthy customers who drove expensive cars and threw around money like it meant nothing. And among those customers was him, a businessman in his 40s, successful and smooth-talking, who quickly noticed the pretty young waitress with the dissatisfied eyes. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what Thuy told herself. He was just a regular customer who tipped well, who made pleasant conversation, who treated her like she was sophisticated and interesting, rather than just a poor girl serving coffee. "You're too beautiful to be struggling like this," he told her one evening, his voice low and intimate. "A woman like you deserves better. Designer bags, nice restaurants, a comfortable life." The words were poison disguised as flattery, and Thuy drank them in thirstily. He'd leave enormous tips, sometimes more than she made in a week. He'd invite her to lunch during her breaks, taking her to restaurants where a single meal cost more than Dee earned in 3 days. "Just as friends," he'd assure her. But his hand would linger on hers a moment too long, and his eyes would promise things that had nothing to do with friendship. Thuy found herself at a crossroads she'd never imagined she'd face. On one side was Dee, faithful, hard-working, decent, but undeniably poor with no prospects of that changing anytime soon. On the other side was this man, older, already successful, offering a shortcut to the life she'd convinced herself she deserved. The moral choice should have been obvious, but poverty has a way of making morality feel like a luxury, and Thuy had grown tired of living without luxuries. She started lying to Day about working late, when really she was having dinner with the businessmen at fancy restaurants. She started accepting gifts, a nice purse here, money for cab fare there, telling herself it meant nothing, even as she knew exactly what it meant. The guilt would hit her in quiet moments, when Day would come home exhausted and still greet her with that gentle smile, still grateful for whatever simple meal she'd prepared. But she'd push the guilt aside, convincing herself that Dee's love, however genuine, couldn't pay bills or buy the life she wanted. The affair, because that's what it had become, progressed exactly as these stories always do. The businessman made his intentions clear. He wanted Thuy, but not as a wife, never as a wife. He had a wife already, tucked away in some comfortable suburb, but he could offer Thuy something else, an apartment, an allowance, a life free from the grinding poverty she'd grown to despise. "Leave that poor husband of yours," he urged, his hand on her thigh in the back of his car. "I'll take care of you. You'll never have to worry about money again." The proposition should have disgusted her, should have sent her running back to Dee's honest arms. But Thuy had spent too many nights lying awake in their cramped room, listening to her husband's exhausted breathing, calculating how many years it would take to escape their circumstances through legitimate means. The answer was always the same: too many years, maybe never. So she told herself a story that made her choice bearable. That Day would be better off without her, that she was doing him a favor by leaving, that love without money was just another form of suffering. Day sensed something was wrong in those final weeks. How could he not? His wife was distant, distracted, coming home later and later with increasingly elaborate excuses. Her phone was suddenly password protected. She'd smell of expensive cologne that definitely wasn't his. When he'd try to hold her at night, she'd stiffen and pull away. "I'm tired," she'd say, turning her back to him, and he'd lie there in the darkness, terrified to voice the suspicion growing in his heart, because saying it out loud might make it real. The night Thuy chose for her escape was calculated with chilling precision. Day had picked up a night shift at the warehouse, working from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next morning. The kind of brutal hours he only took when they were especially desperate for money. "I'll be home before you wake up tomorrow," he'd told her, kissing her forehead. She'd smiled at him, and he had no idea it would be the last time he'd see that smile, poisoned as it was by secrets and lies. "Be safe," she'd said, and the cruel irony of those words wouldn't hit him until later. The moment Dee's bicycle disappeared around the corner, Thuy moved into action. She'd already packed her bags in secret, hidden under their bed. She moved through their tiny room methodically, taking her clothes, her few pieces of jewelry, emptying the small tin where they kept their savings. Money Day had earned through sweat and sacrifice. Money meant for their future together. She left behind anything that wouldn't fit in her 2 suitcases, including, apparently, her conscience. On the small kitchen table, she placed a note. Just a few sentences written in neat handwriting that betrayed no emotion. "You're too poor. I can't endure this life anymore. Don't look for me." No apology, no acknowledgement of the years they'd spent together. No recognition of the man who'd loved her with everything he had. Just cold dismissal, as if their marriage had been nothing more than an inconvenient arrangement she was finally escaping. When Day returned home at 6:30 a.m., exhausted to his bones from the night shift, he noticed immediately that something was wrong. The door wasn't locked the way Thuy always locked it. He pushed it open, calling her name, and was met with silence that felt thick and wrong. The closet stood open and half empty. The tin where they kept money sat on the counter, gaping and hollow. And there, on the table, that terrible note. He read it once, twice, 3 times, as if repetition might somehow change the words or reveal some hidden message that made it all make sense. But there was no hidden message, no secret meaning, just the brutal truth that his wife had looked at their life together, looked at him, and decided he wasn't enough, that she'd rather be with someone else, anyone else, as long as that person had money. Day sank into the chair, the note still clutched in his trembling hand. And for the first time since his father died, he wept. Deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place of pain so profound, it felt like it might consume him entirely. The sun rose on that miserable morning, illuminating the half-empty room, the opened closet, the empty tin, and a man sitting alone with the smoking ruins of his marriage scattered around him, like debris after an explosion. This was the moment that broke Day. The betrayal that would make him question his worth, that would make him believe for years afterward that maybe he didn't deserve to be loved, that maybe Thuy was right to leave, that maybe poverty made him fundamentally unworthy of happiness. And there, in that empty room with morning light streaming through the window and tears streaming down his face, we understand why Dee was so hesitant to believe in Huyen's love. We understand why he worked himself to exhaustion, trying to provide for her and Maya, terrified that history might repeat itself. We understand why the words "you're too poor" would echo in his mind every time he felt inadequate, every time he couldn't afford something Huyen might want. Thuy's betrayal didn't just break Dee's heart. It broke his fundamental trust in his own worthiness of love. But here's what Thuy didn't understand, and what took Dee years to learn. Love isn't measured in bank accounts or material possessions. Real love shows up in the small moments, in cooking someone's favorite meal after a long day, in staying awake to make sure they get home safely, in choosing to be present even when life is hard. Thuy chose the easy path, paved with someone else's money. And in doing so, she lost something infinitely more valuable than any amount of wealth could buy. She lost a man who would have stood by her through anything, who would have worked himself to death, trying to make her happy, who loved her not for what she could give him, but for who she was. The pain of that night shaped Dee, scarred him, nearly destroyed him, but it also eventually taught him to recognize genuine love when it finally appeared in the form of a hard-working woman selling vegetables at the market, a woman who never asked him to be anything other than himself. Now you understand the depth of Dee's past pain. Now you understand why Thuy's return terrifies him. But what happened to Thuy during those 3 years away? What drove her back? And what is her true agenda? Those answers are coming in our next episode. And trust me, the truth is even more complicated than you imagine. Thank you for joining me on this emotional journey through Dee's darkest chapter. If this story touched your heart, or helped you understand why some people struggle to trust again after betrayal, please hit that like button and share this video. Subscribe to Life Single Review and turn on those notifications, because the story isn't over. It's only just beginning to reveal its deepest secrets. And please, drop a comment below telling me your thoughts. Have you ever had to rebuild yourself after someone you trusted completely walked away? How did you learn to believe in love again? I read every comment, and your stories matter. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, your worth is never determined by someone else's inability to see it. See you soon.